I welcome everyone to my channel. And again, stories from life. A novel that will change your life. Martha Shields' right pointing arrow, hope for happiness. Jake sat in her seat and pulled Claire onto his lap. Before she could say a word, he covered her lips with a kiss. Instantly, all common sense, along with reasonable arguments, disappeared somewhere. It had been nearly a day since she had last tasted his lips and the strength of his hands. She desperately wanted him. Claire slipped her hands under his jacket. Jake groaned and held her tighter. "Mrs. Anderson, do you need to?" Claire whirled around and saw Jim Gordon, completely red with embarrassment. Her cheeks flushed, she jumped up, tugged at her skirt, and tried to think of what to say. "Jim, I didn't know you were still here. I'm sorry, Mrs. Anderson, I didn't think you," he coughed, "are busy." Jake let out a laugh. Claire kicked him under the table and asked in a flat voice, "What do you need, Jim?" "I just wanted to know if you need invoices today." Michelle had already gone home and locked almost everything in her office. "Go home, Jim," Jake said. "Mrs. Anderson won't need anything today. We were about to leave too." Claire turned around and glared at Jake. Why the hell is he deciding for her? She lifted her chin and turned back to Jim. "So you won't need them today?" he said with hope in his voice. "It's my wife's birthday today and I promised to go to a restaurant with her." All of Claire's fire was instantly extinguished. "Why didn't you tell me before? I would have let you go a long time ago. This is your first day at work, Mrs. Anderson. I wanted to help." Claire smiled back. In one day, she had already figured out why Jim was Alan Townsend's right hand. He would have done well in her position. "You helped me a lot, Jim." "Thank you. We'll continue tomorrow. Now go home." "Yes. I didn't ask, do you have children?" Thin, with a slightly noticeable bald head, Jim beamed. "3 daughters. 10, 7 and 4 years old. They must be waiting for you. Till tomorrow." Feeling Jake hugging her again, she hurried to add, "I'll be there at 7, as usual." "Me too. See you." When Jim left, Jake stood up and hugged his wife tightly. "You did great." Squinting, Claire stepped back. "You didn't let me open my mouth," he exclaimed in surprise. "I? You answered the questions that my subordinate asked me. Is it my job or not, after all?" "Of course, yours." "Then be kind, please. Let me decide everything by myself. I know that you are the boss, but it will be better if I communicate with my subordinates without intermediaries." He raised his hands playfully. "Sorry, I didn't think." Claire sighed noisily and reached for her purse. "Okay, but remember, if you decide to hug me again in front of subordinates, I will never forgive you." Jake took her hand and turned her towards him. "First of all, I didn't know he hadn't left yet. You too. And secondly, there is nothing to be ashamed of. Damn it. Gordon himself created 3 children." "Well?" Claire asked impatiently. "So what? What about the third?" "Yours is all about 3 things." Jake pulled Claire towards him. "And thirdly, it's you. Mrs. Anderson. Don't tell me you didn't answer me at all." Claire lifted her chin angrily, but denying Jake's words was foolish. As soon as he hugged her, she melted. "Let's go home," Jake said. "No one will stop us there." 3 days have passed. One day, entering the apartment, Jake heard that Claire was talking to someone on the phone. She sat facing the window and looked at the evening lights of the city. 3 days have passed. One day, entering the apartment, Jake heard that Claire was talking to someone on the phone. She sat facing the window and looked at the evening lights of the city. Jake glanced at his watch. Almost 10. Who could it be? "Didn't you get my message 2 days ago?" "I know. I was not in the city." "Nothing. Everything as usual." No, Thanksgiving? Hell. I don't even know." Yeah, I know I haven't been home since JJ was born." Jake calmed down. She is talking to one of her relatives. Okay, no, Hank, I'm not dating anyone. Turning around, she saw Jake at the door and broke off. What did you say? No, nothing. Look, Hank, I have to go. I'll call you one of these days. No, don't call me yourself. No, Hank. She sighed heavily. Bye. Give a huge hello to Alex and the kids. I love you too. Bye. She hung up the phone slowly. So you're not dating anyone? Jake asked. And who do you think I am? Furniture. Or what? I'm not dating anyone, Claire said. I'm married. But you don't tell your family about this, he remarked reproachfully. We've been back home for 4 days. We've been married a whole week, and you still haven't told them anything. Yes, she said softly. Did not say. Jake was hurt by her words. Are you ashamed of me? What you? I'm just not ready to answer their questions yet. She averted her eyes. I still don't know much about myself. Jake stared at her sad face, desperately wanting to take her into his arms. And kiss, until these wrinkles disappear from the forehead. But something held him back. For example, she shook her head. There is nothing. I shouldn't have told you. But once you've started, don't give up. Speak. There was a threatening note in his voice, but Jake didn't even try to contain his anger. She shouldn't hide anything from him. What if I don't get pregnant? Jake felt as if he had been unexpectedly punched in the solar plexus. He didn't even think about that possibility. What happens if she doesn't really get pregnant? Now the child was more important to him than anything in the world, more important than the most profitable investment, more important than work, more important than the ranch. Having decided that Claire would become the mother of his child, he was ready to devote all days and nights to conceiving him. But what if she really doesn't get pregnant? What if her condition is worse than the doctors thought? Did you learn something? He asked sharply. Did you speak to your doctor after your return? No, I just do not know. You're just tired. He walked over to her and hugged her tightly. It's only been a few days. Let's wait. She leaned against his chest. Do you really think that I can use and leave you? He asked with pain in his voice. Claire shrugged. Why not? You need a child. If I can't give it, you'll have to find someone who can. Anger rose in his chest. How could she have such a low opinion of him? But worst of all, her doubts were not unfounded. He would have done the same with any other woman. After all, Jake had a reputation for being ruthless, cruel. If things didn't go well, he cut off the ends, quickly and cleanly. But can he let Claire go? No, the thought made him uncomfortable. In a choked voice, he spoke. And how much time did you give us? 2 more days? A week? No, or maybe you want to leave me? Claire? She stepped back. Her sweet face showed alarm and embarrassment. I did not say that. Jake raised her left hand with the wedding ring to his lips. That means forever, Claire. Do you remember the vows at the altar? But what if I don't? That won't happen, Jake said confidently. But quarrels won't help matters. Hope you're done with your work for today. She nodded. Claire, we must do everything so that our child is born as early as possible. With these words, Jake hugged his wife and led her into the bedroom. Her plan didn't work. Claire tried her best to hold back her tears. The taste of Jake's kisses hadn't left her lips yet. The sweet sensation of the convulsive pleasure that they had experienced together had not yet passed. His hot breath warmed her skin. Why is it like this every time? Why does he need all this tenderness every time? Why can't he at least once be satisfied with quick, 5-minute sex? For a whole week now, she has been trying to remain cold and insensitive to his caresses. But Jake doesn't mind. Every time he kisses, strokes, bites and makes her forget about everything in the world, except for one thing, the desire to possess him and surrender to him. And each time, Claire realizes with horror that she falls more and more in love with him. A tear rolled down her cheek and left a wet trail on the pillow. Well, why can't she just look at it as sex, to combine business with pleasure? Why does her foolish heart melt with happiness at this illusion of love? Perhaps if she had more experience, the pleasure would not be so spicy. If she slept with every man she met, this problem would not arise at all. Are you okay? Claire flinched at the sound of his muffled voice. Certainly. And what? I was afraid that I hurt you. I was not very gentle this time. Damn, I didn't expect to lose control like this. Claire pulled back to look into his eyes. Have you lost control? What? It didn't look like it, he asked in surprise. She chuckled. I got a little distracted. He laughed and reached out to hug her. It's right, your moans were heard throughout the district. She playfully poked him in the side. And you made such sounds that even an elephant during the mating season did not dream of. Well, nothing surprising, after a whole day of abstinence. He wanted to kiss her, but Claire pushed him away. Cool down a bit, elephant, we need to sleep at least a couple of hours today. Who said that? Me. I have to work tomorrow morning. Jake took her hand away. Call your boss and tell him you're sick. I assure you he will understand. Very funny. How did you earn your millions with such an attitude to work? He took her face in his hands. Before I had no wife, my angel. And I want to enjoy every second. When his lips took over hers, Claire didn't resist. She still hoped that she could suppress her tender feelings. No, her plan definitely didn't work. Claire pushed open the front door and found herself in the hallway of her old apartment. The familiar smell of vanilla enveloped her. Aromatic blend, the one she always kept in a ceramic vase at the entrance. She was so busy with her new job that for 2 weeks after returning, she did not look at home. Jake had to send his secretary for her things. And Claire didn't mind. There really was no time. Upon entering the apartment, Claire felt that it no longer belonged to her. She looked at everything around her with different eyes. A table she bought at a yard sale from an elderly woman who had decided to move into a nursing home. To be continued. If you liked the video, subscribe to my channel and press the bell to nothing don't miss.